Hey everybody, Noel's back for part two of my friend's New Year's Day marathon, where for both New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, we do 2 days worth of weird, crappy, silly, fun movies. And we started this one with Arena, the 1989 film produced by Charles Band. That is, it's kind of like a people call it Rocky in space. It's more of a noir boxer thriller because it gets into like fixed fights and performance drugs and the femme fatales and all that stuff. And its idea is that humans have become the minority underdog population. So this one rare human fighter is now able to hold his own against alien combatants. And it is, I used to see this film back in the day on, I don't know if it was HBO or Showtime or something, but on one of the movie channels, they used to play it a lot. It's kind of a fascinating proto Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine, where it's this kind of grungy space station full of aliens and ethical gray zones and amoral, lawless types. And it's full of just wonderful alien creature designs and set designs. It's a little clunkily directed, a little goofily directed. It is very much in that full moon direct to video style. And in fact, the DVD that I had was still a 4:3 full frame version. So I'm assuming this was actually produced for video. Its big thing is though it kind of looks a little cheesy. But what I appreciate is the ambition of it and just the wide variety of alien creatures and shapes and all that stuff. You had creatures done by Screaming Mad George and Steve Wang. You had the majority of the creatures by John Carl Buechler. Is it Buechler? Buechler? I'm actually not sure. A really nice, sharp script by the same guys that wrote The Rocketeer. It's a really, really fun movie. And I'm actually glad to have revisited it. It was a nice thing to revisit from when I was younger, and it's one I'm glad I own a copy of so that we can revisit it again. And then the next film after that, we did the 1970s blaxploitation film TNT Jackson, which was directed by Carlos, I believe it's Santiagos, who was a Filipino director who worked a lot with Roger Corman, would always shoot films in Manila, with a script initially written by Dick Miller. Yes, the Dick Miller, who I was surprised to find out actually wrote 3 movies. It's a very typical blaxploitation film. It's a woman shows up in Manila looking for her brother. Turns out he got killed by drug dealers, so she just starts taking down the drug dealers. A lot of martial arts, a lot of ham-fisted action. It's unfortunately just kind of a very dull movie. There's just a lot of talking. The fights are okay. The main problem is the lead actress, I'm trying to remember her name, she was a Playmate of the Month. So she not only didn't have much acting training, but she had no martial arts training. And she just obviously had no experience with that style of movement and the speed and the control that's necessary for it. I would love to, if she'd probably gotten more time to train and practice, she could probably could have pulled it off. But it very, very quickly, halfway through the film, you can tell that they're replacing her with an obviously male stunt double. And kudos to the actress. We were looking her up. She's actually got a TikTok channel now where she's become the world's oldest competitive jump rope champion. And I was like, kudos to her, because it's a really fun channel. But unfortunately, it's just, TNT Jackson is a movie where the lead character is fighting an entire room full of goons while wearing nothing but panties. And it's still boring. And that's the main problem. It's just a very flat movie. And I wish that it had more of that kind of grindhouse gusto and energy, but it doesn't. It's kind of just a very low-key, matter-of-fact movie. So we finished that one with what is quickly becoming one of my holiday favorites, Rex, A Dinosaur Story, which is a 1993 Japanese film done by Kadokawa, actually directed by the CEO of Kadokawa, and came out right when he was getting busted for possession of cocaine and had to step down from being the CEO of Kadokawa. It's a story about a young girl estranged from her mother who ends up becoming the imprinted mother of a newly discovered and hatched baby T-Rex and forges this bond, but then, the T-Rex becomes the kidnapped property of media conglomerates that want to force him to star in commercials and sell products. So the girl, kidnaps him away to run back into the mountains of Hokkaido to see if she can reunite him with his lost dinosaur family in the ancient island of Mu, and it gets really weird. It's a bizarre movie. It's very much a very silly kids movie. They brought in Carlo Rambaldi, of all people, the guy who did E.T. and the effects in Alien, to do the puppet effect for Rex, the T-Rex. And it is a really bad puppet. Like, when he's a baby, he's literally just a little hand puppet. And even when he's like in an animatronic in a full body suit, it's not a very good effect. But it's still a fun and energetic movie, especially in the second half as the two are on the run, being pursued by goofy bad guys. There's a jet ski chase. There's a food fight in a restaurant where all the waiters are on roller skates. It just takes some really fun, wild turns, and it's exactly the type of movie that I enjoy it because it's the type of movie I would have enjoyed when I was 9. Like, if I had seen this when I was 9, it would be a childhood favorite of mine. And I find that as an adult, when I see those type of movies, I can still become fond of them retroactively. It's like, it's a film like, oh yeah, I absolutely feel what I would have felt had I watched this as a kid. And so that it kind of still brings me back that nostalgia, even though I'm seeing it for the first time. And this was one I had just seen for the first time earlier this year when I managed to uncover a copy and played it with one of my film groups. And then we decided to wrap up the evening with our final film, The Return of Captain Invincible from the early 80s. This one with Alan Arkin and Christopher Lee. This is a parody of superhero stories where, Superman disappeared after he was pulled up before the McCarthy hearings and is now a washed up drunk, and they have to clean him up and bring him back into service because Christopher Lee is an evil former Nazi who wants to take over humanity with his hypno ray. And it's also a musical. And it is just a really good, wild, bonkers movie. It's actually got a really good character bent in terms of exploring Captain Invincible's disenchantment with having been a superhero, with the country that he's supposed to represent having turned on him, trying to find his motivation to go out and use his powers for help, even trying to figure out if he can still use his powers because they're not working half the time or not working correctly. And it also cuts to these really wild musical numbers, these really wild comedy sequences. It's full of cameos. It was filmed in Australia, so it's a ton of Australian actors in there. It's a really fun movie. Richard O'Brien also co-wrote a number of the songs. Christopher Lee looks like he's having an absolute blast, not only getting to do musical numbers, but playing a campy villain. Because I know Christopher Lee always liked it when he got to do comedy, and he just fully nails it on this one. So it was another good day. I think really the only one that was a bit of a letdown was, for today at least, was TNT Jackson. And that was... But it's like we went in like, how could you not expect that to at least be fun on some level? It's TNT Jackson. And the poster was great, but almost nothing on the poster is actually in the movie. It shows the lead character in an outfit that she never wears, standing in front of a bank vault that never appears, and like a vehicle that you never see. And it was one of those type of exploitation posters where it's like, yeah, we're not selling the movie. We're selling what you want the movie to be. Otherwise, Arena was a really great one to revisit. I'm still fond of Rex, and Return of Captain Invincible, I'm glad that we actually watched my Severin Blu-ray of this that I just picked up a few months ago. It gave me a good excuse to finally check it out. I'm glad I picked that up because I'm really excited to now start digging into the special features on that. This was a really, really good New Year's weekend where we got to watch a lot of really fun films, got to have some really good meals. One of my friends made a really delicious ham and bean soup, and the other made a lovely lasagna. And it was just a really good weekend to spend with friends and lots of frenetic dogs and some really, really wild, weird movies. So, anyways, looking forward to next year. Everyone, have a good 2024.